So we have completed an audit, actually that we started. We should have a plan and a proposal this week, and we will evaluate that and see what our next steps will be. We've completed a district door audit. We do have some work that we need to do. I've reached out to Texas Department of Emergency Management for exterior door hardware and hinges and things of that nature, and those will be addressed as we continue to move forward. I don't know how many doors we have in the district, but I think it's well over 400 or 500 doors. We'll continue to train
Hey, Rena.
extensive professional development and training on the campuses, security, and district protocols. We'll continue training with our Raptor system and continue to look to see if there are systems that we can integrate with the systems that we currently have to strengthen what we provide our teachers, all of our staff, students, and parents. Mr. Miller, Ken Miller, if you'd stand, Ken, is the individual that has been working through many of these projects. And if you've got any questions about that, please, it'd be easy to call Mr. Miller. He'd probably get to you much more quickly than I'll be able to get back to you. But if you don't want to call Mr. Miller, please call me and I will get back to you. And his contact information is right there if you need a copy of it. All right. All right. This is one thing that we've been talking about, and it's coming to fruition, and want to make sure people get good information, good, accurate information on this. And it's the Uvalde CISD Virtual Academy. So first thing I want to draw your attention to, up there, that top bullet, interest survey. It is currently online. It came online Friday evening. Families have found it. People are giving the information to us that we need as we prepare to get back to school. So if that is something that you are interested in, you, your family, relatives, whatever, please direct them to that website. If they have a hard time accessing or finding that website, please let us know, because we want to have our families access and find that information. Official application will be open August the 10th through the 31st. Families will be getting notices back. They'll launch that back to August 15th. So I say that because I want them to make sure that they know they were seen, that we have identified them, that they have registered. So if they don't get an email back, that means there was probably a gap somewhere. And we want to make sure that we close those gaps. Information sessions will begin August the 22nd. And again, more information at ucisd.net//virtual academy. I do have some folks here, and I'll give you a little background. Last week, Dr. Garza, Dr. Reinhardt, myself, Cash Keith, traveled to Region 20, and we had a meeting there with Mr. Cabrera. He is here this evening. If you don't mind, there. I'm going to make you stand. He was a wealth of information, great insight. And we have Miss Machigamba, if I said it correctly, she is here. And then also Sherry Seaman. Dr. Madrigal, the Karnes City superintendent who helped us or is helping us through this process, he was there, although he has a board meeting tonight and was not able to make it. But these individuals have become great team partners. Dr. Reinhardt has kind of taken the lead on this for our district. She is our coordinator. She is putting the information together. We are working also with TEA. TEA was present in the room via Zoom, and kind of give you a little something. If you remember COVID, TEA put out some COVID information that it could only be so many students for so much time, and they have waived all those pieces. So our virtual academy, we will be stood up as long as we need to for our families, our students. It's more than, if we need more than 10%, we'll do more than 10%. But it'll also be Uvalde faces that our students engage with. There'll be more information to come on that. Dr. Garza, if you'd please stand, make sure everybody knows who you are. Dr. Reinhardt, if you will please stand as well. So if you've got questions specifically, these two individuals will help you, get you the information you need, and you may have questions that we haven't thought of, and we sure want to get those answered. So if you've got anything, Dr. Garza, Dr. Reinhardt, is there anything you want to add, share? Okay. And even after this meeting, if you've got questions, I've asked these individuals to kind of just put themselves over in this area so they'd be easy to find. So if you've got questions that maybe you don't want to ask, please come down and spend a few minutes and either set up a time, a meeting, or work with them. I've had some questions about special education. What do I need to do? How do I get that support? Well, first of all, Mr. Victor Barron, Mr. Barron, if you'd stand, please. He's our Executive Director for Special Education. But we are looking at homebound support. Him and his team have been working with TEA and the Regional Service Center to make sure that we reach the people we need to reach, meet our timelines, and have our individual education plans, whether they're in person, whether they're virtual, in place at the beginning of school. He's realigned some of the resources throughout the district. If that's something that you need in your family, please reach out to that group if you've not already heard from us. If you feel like there needs to be a referral made on behalf of a family member, somebody you know, please reach out to them or reach out to the central office, and we'll get you that information that you need to make that referral. And also, we're looking to hire additional LSSP support, that is a licensed school counselor, and want to have them in place hopefully at the beginning of the year. But if we don't, we will continue to advertise until we are able to find individuals that will come and help us. As we prepare, a couple of announcements I want to make. Christy Pettis will be the principal at Uvalde Elementary. That is the 3rd and 4th grade campus. That will be at the Benson Education Complex. Mandy Gutierrez will be the assistant director at Special Education. And Michelle Gonzalez will be our ACE coordinator, our director of After School Centers for Education. Had a few questions on iPad distribution. As you know, we took up last year's iPads. There will be brand new iPads for each student as we move forward. Some of the students may have theirs already because they were in some summer programs that allowed for that distribution. But each campus principal will notify their families of the dates, times, locations for those iPad distributions. Now, I say that also, now, if we got families or your family is choosing a virtual option, that distribution will take place September 1st and 2nd. Location to be determined and time. However, I have a feeling it's going to be probably in this area. It's easy for families to get in and out. However, if that becomes a challenge for somebody to get to this location, just please let us know and we will come to you. 8 portables have been delivered, stood up. They're being equipped with Wi-Fi, intercom systems, fire alarms. There's some painting to be done. There's some concrete walkways to be poured to make sure they're all accessible. And our Crossroads program will now be on the Oppenheimer Street property. We were asked last time about some of the projects and what they're costing and how are we paying for all this. So the first, counseling support, that is coming, that we were awarded $750,000. Right now we've committed $550,000. Primarily it is in the area of either salaries and primarily more of contracted services. The Project Serve grant, the VOCA grant's a federal grant. The Project Serve grant is a state grant. It was $1.5 million, but that has gone to pay for the portables, the moving, the repair, the setup, and will be also used to pay for moving campuses and the salaries associated with those, moving from one campus to another. And then some has already been allocated for officer salaries as we do move forward. The Department of Justice grant, it was $500,000. So the security upgrades on doors and locks and police department equipment has taken, used all of that Department of Justice grant. The donation from the Las Vegas Raiders of $1 million, and we've used that for security fences, the vestibules, security upgrades also on doors and locks. And then the ESSER grant, we've been able to reallocate some monies upwards of almost $1 million, $915,000 in security upgrades, which also includes cameras and some door locks as well. So in total, that's almost $4.5 million that we have used this summer to realign, reorganize, and provide services for our campuses and staff and students as we move forward. Some of the things that we're still in pursuit of that we'll need to find a funding source, Armored One glass coverings or security glass and security film. Wi-Fi audit costs $15,000, and then we'll find out what we need to do to strengthen our Wi-Fi if necessary. Additional radios. I'm certain we will need additional radios as we move forward as well. Campus monitors that I mentioned earlier that will walk the campuses, check doors, check exterior doors on a daily basis. We will need to find the funding for those, but they're very important, and I will find the funding for that out of some local funds. A couple other questions. The Robb School Complex, I still don't have a timeline on that. I do know it's still being used for investigative purposes. I believe as recent as last week, we had a call to go and have a person look at part of that campus. Our back to school website is up and operational. Please go to it. Please look at that. Dates of the termination, the chief's termination hearing. We have sent 3 different dates back at this point for them to consider, and hopefully one will be chosen. We have been asked to notify the parents first of that chosen date, and I plan to acknowledge that and do that. And then also a date for district grievance. There were some grievances filed on behalf of the community and to the board to hear. That date has been, we set a date for that. We've contacted all the families, and we're waiting on one confirmation. So as soon as that's done and we get confirmation back that that will also work for that, that individual, we will make that certain and set that in motion to have a board meeting on that date. So, Mr. Board President, that's what I have. Any questions from the board at this point?
Board members, anybody have any questions? All right, hearing none. Thank you so much, Mr. Harrell. Thank you for that presentation. We'll move on now to item number 3, open forum. The purpose of this forum is to provide a time for the public to comment and or ask questions about the changes and updates for the 2022-2023 school year, to include questions regarding safety and security plans. The open forum will be conducted in an orderly fashion to allow the audience and board to hear and respond to each speaker. Item 3A, open forum to solicit public comment and questions as we move forward and on the plans for the 2022-2023 school year. I will start with the first one. First person we have is Anson Bills. Would you like to step up?
Before I begin, I would like to introduce my children, Anthony, Trey, and Adam. I'm not one to beat around the bush or to speak elegantly, but today I will. Last time I was up here, we asked for action and accountability. I see that you've done that. I went to Dalton. I saw that fence. What people are saying on social media is not true. I run security. That fence, that's an improvement. What's not an improvement is the fact y'all have not spoken about the incidents that have happened at the schools in the past year alone. The fights in the bathroom. I didn't hear anything about that. What are you doing? I'm asking you, what are you
We're going to
doing?
continue to monitor and have people on campus that will continue to monitor, pursue. The cameras will help and help identify when there is a problem.
What about the drugs that the students are selling?
That would be a great time for all students to, if you see something, say something. We do have an app that they can text somebody anonymously so that they can help us find and intervene as soon as possible.
And what about the inappropriate pictures that are being taken in the schools by the students?
Those should be addressed through the Student Code of Conduct and through the campus administration.
No, what needs to happen is parents need to get more involved with their kids. You need to look at your kids' phones and see what they're doing. Sit down like I do with my boys. Ask them, how was your day? What did you do? My oldest boy, Anthony, when he graduates from this high school, he will leave here with 2 degrees. He'll be done with high school before his junior year. As for my youngest son, you've all failed him. Mandy, you brought her back. Adam will not attend this school until she is removed. I will not have him in this school. And I'll tell you why. He goes to school with the nurse, and she tells me what's going on there. Well, I've tried to address it with her over the past year. She's not done anything about it. What are you going to do about it? Dr. Harrell, what would you do if you were me?
I'd continue to communicate. Please come see me, see Mr. Miller, but if I will sit down, talk to you, and investigate what you're...
Mr. Miller has done everything he can to help me out. And he flat out told me the best thing to do is come up here and speak. So here I am. And you are telling me you're not going to remove her? My son will not go to school here. I told you to fix this problem, and all you did was make it worse.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Move on to our second speaker,
Sammy Smallwood.
Sammy Smallwood.
I want to speak tonight as an elementary teacher, retired, and as a citizen of this community. My subject is the Dalton Zen Garden, advertised on their Dalton Community Workday flyer, and more specifically, the importance of the name. I think it's been also mentioned in a newspaper article as well, I believe. Someone told me that, and I think I saw it. The word Zen is derived from the Buddhist religion. Gautama Buddha was a spiritual teacher of South Asia in the latter half of the first millennium. He's worshipped by Buddhists. Uvalde claims to be a Christian community. As Christians, we worship and pray to Father, Son, Jesus, Holy Spirit, and our prayers are heard by the God who created the universe With a fear running through our community since May 24th, we desperately need to know we have a God who hears us. In the Holy Bible, we learn the names, numbers, symbols are important to our God. Thus, whatever we name something is important, especially at a school where we are teaching children. What we call the garden will teach the children something. Rather than Zen, wouldn't it be more productive to use a name that would lead children and their parents toward a being that could actually help them in living in this world of troubles? Calling it a prayer and peace garden or something similar would imply that it is a place where you can pray and experience the peaceful presence of the living God. Rather than following along with the buzzwords of the times, couldn't it be a far better thing to promote something time-tested and true? Something that will serve our children through all the events of their lives. I hope you will decide to talk to your Dalton leadership and any other leadership, and I intend to follow this throughout our community and help people to understand the importance of names. So the names of our gardens or whatever, if we make a garden somewhere, I've heard it said maybe at the Robb School site or somewhere else in town, if we make a place, it needs to represent the one true God that we believe in and that we stand for. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. Next up, we have Mr. Adam Martinez.
Hello. So my first question was, in your multi-hazard emergency operations plan, who are the individuals designated in the chain of command as responsible for making final decisions during an emergency situation?
Who was the person?
No, who is in your emergency plan, your multi-hazard emergency plan? What is the chain of command?
So this Friday, meeting with Texas DPS and the chief of police here in Uvalde, we are going to have to go back through that document and the framework within that document to update that.
So you don't know who's going to be in charge if this happens again right now?
At this moment, I talked to Officer Joel Betancourt, and he said any of his officers could take charge at any moment. And we have officers at each location as we have events at this point, and then on Friday, that will be further vetted out.
So y'all are required to have this multi-hazard emergency operations plan. So I will ask, in the shooting, who was it in the chain of command, since y'all do have jurisdiction? What was the chain of command that day?
It was the UCISD chief of police.
So you, Kenneth Miller, or you yourself, it was just him? So if you look at the plan, that's what it's going to say?
Yeah, it does have names mentioned in there, but the incident commander was the UCISD chief of police.
Thank you. So this one's for Annabelle White, because last time we talked, she said that she's in charge, or y'all are in charge of budget and policies. So I did want to ask you, y'all do have a safety committee, correct?
That's correct.
Do you know who's in that particular committee?
It's made up of, I don't off the top of my head because they only meet, I want to say 4 times a year. I'd have to check with Mr. Miller again how many times we meet. 2 board members, so it's Mr. Fernandez and I, and some people from the UPD, Office Chief Rodriguez, and a couple of other people that represent the community.
So it shows that you're supposed to post it along with the meetings. You're supposed to have it posted when y'all do have meetings. I have looked everywhere. I don't see anywhere where y'all had a meeting in the past year.
You mean as in a permanent posting on the calendars, when you look up on the district, but on monthly, when you look it up, it is posted.
So when was the last time y'all had a safety and security meeting?
I want to say last month, July.
Are you just shaking your head because she said that?
No, we met July.
Because that's when I was out of town. I wasn't here, so he was here. So he attended it. I didn't attend it, so I can't give you the exact date.
So who attended it? It just happened, what, last week you said, or 2 weeks ago? Who was in attendance?
I was attendance as a members of the committee, Mr. Miller, groups from the community that are part of it, a member of the Uvalde PD, member of the Emergency Management Center, Mr. Anderson and Mr. Charlie Waller, and we also had Mr. Zamora was also part of it, and we had, who's the other one? I can't think of on the top of my head. Can't remember the other person, but that's who was in attendance.
So when y'all do have these meetings, they're supposed to come up with how you can improve. They're supposed to do an audit every year. So would you be able to provide that audit and how or what y'all did to improve the safety?
The EOP cannot be shared to the community because it is the plan of, for different activities to come up, so it can't be made public, because once again, if we make it public, then you're basically giving them, here's how to get through us and how we're going to do, so they study it, right? So we can't share that with the public. But the board meeting was posted. It was posted under our board meetings. It was on there, and it was specified that we were meeting that night.
I'm gonna have to go back and look at that because I looked everywhere. I didn't see it.
Yes, sir. I think
Thank
it's
you.
still up there, if I remember correctly.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. I did ask Mr. Miller about the shields because one of the delays on the cops going in was if they didn't have any shields. In the event that this happens again, are we going to have some on the premises in case it happens? Are they going to have some the ballistic shields?
We will have shields in the district. I will double check to make sure that we have them on each campus.
Can you make sure that y'all do? Y'all have plenty of money, so I mean, I know they're expensive, but if you can have one at each school, you won't have to run around looking for it.
Yes.
So another question I have is, and I know it may not be y'all's job, but how are y'all going to change the perception of the community, especially the children? I told my son that we're going to have extra cops there, and he said, but who cares about the cops? They're not going to do anything anyway. They're not going to go in anyway. That's the children speaking to y'all. And I would expect somebody to try to change that perception. Maybe it's not y'all's job, but somebody needs to change that perception.
You're right, Adam, we do. And it's going to take a while to regain that trust, but it's going to take everyone across this stage right here and everyone in this community to work together. Because you're right. The trust has been damaged. It has been broken, and it's going to take a while to fix it. And I hope we can work together to make that happen for your child. I believe third grade, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I mean we've got a long school career, and I want it to be a very happy career for your child. But it's going to take all of us. It's not going to take one of us.
In regards to the grievances, is that going to be like a group, or is it going to be one-on-one, or how do you plan on, or do the board plan on handling that?
Our preference would be to do it individually, so we can give each person their individual time, and not, get overrun by a group, where a group, some people are talking and some people don't talk right, and then, so it's unfair to that one person that didn't get to say anything right. So in our viewpoint, it's better to have individuals, that way we can give you the attention, let you have your time, and then next, and that's the plan that we have.
So what should we expect as far as the outcome of it?
That'll be determined on by what we hear.
You also said that you're proposing to terminate Pete. Proposing to who? I mean, you hired him, so who are you proposing to?
So the way that process works is I'll be proposing to our school board for the termination of Chief Arredondo. Now, part of his due process also allows him to have representation to argue my recommendation.
So he's proposing to y'all that we need to fire him, so what's the holdup?
The due process, sir.
Due process of what?
So so this is something that I learned, okay? So when you're hired through, when it's a teacher or whatnot, it's a different process, but when it's law enforcement, we have to follow we can't just fire, they have something set in place.
Like what? What is that?
We're gonna have to hear, it's almost set like a grievance of sorts, and so we will hear their case being made. At anytime it's law enforcement. And right. We're just obeying law.
So I asked that question today because it's been on my mind as well. We have had 2 dates set. Both have been, turned out to be not good dates for Mr. Hyde and Pete's attorney. We have proposed 3 additional dates, all in the very near future, to do exactly what you are saying. We've got to get this moving forward. We can't keep knocking the ball down the road, to say. But so I have proposed 3 more dates, and hopefully one of those will be chosen in the very near future, and we can get this, continue to move forward.
So what happens if you just decide tonight, you know what, you're fired, and that's it, you're fired? Y'all make that decision. What are y'all worried about? Because you can do that right now. You could say you're fired, don't come back. If that's an option and they're willing to pay him out just to get him out of here, I mean, maybe that's an option. But you can right now say, you're fired. I'm wondering what's keeping you. I know due process and all that, but it's the right thing to do. And everybody knows that. That's what we're expecting from y'all, to do the right thing. If it costs you or whatever it costs, you're gonna earn our respect by doing that.
So that's case in point why we're doing it, the process we're doing it, right? Because if we don't do it right, then there's a possibility that it happens, right? So we don't want that to happen either. So therefore, we got to follow it to the T, make sure we cross our T's, dot our I's to make sure that when it's done correctly, and there's nothing that's going to come back and bite us back later. Yeah, that's what we've been working with them, with the lawyer giving that hearing, so that way it gets done the correct way.
I do.
Thank you, ma'am.
And we're not here to argue. I mean, make comments like the schemes of the enemy. JJ, you say, well, the schemes of the enemy. We're not the enemy.
That wasn't what I was saying, Adam. I didn't say any of the people here are the enemy. We're not. It's the enemy just being attacked onto our town. Not anybody individually.
So who's being attacked in this town right now?
We all are, all of us, this whole community.
The ones that are being attacked are the ones like you that didn't do anything. Those are the ones that are being attacked. The ones that stood with the gun against the parents. But when you're in the camera, no gun up, no gun out, you walk in the hall. What is that, man?
I'd be more than happy to explain to you if you allow me to.
You're chicken shit, that's what it is.
If I can explain to you, I'll explain to you. Like I explained to the Texas Rangers.
It was a barricaded subject. You said it was a barricaded subject. That's what you thought. I understand that, right?
Yes, sir.
That's all I got.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez. Appreciate it, sir. Next up, we have Mr. Jessie Russo.
Good evening, Mr. Lambert, Mr. Fowler. Thanks for joining us through Zoom. Appreciate that. I don't need to remind you that it's been about 2.5 months since our lives have been turned upside down. Last night I saw a documentary in reference to May 24th. My emotions ran high, got upset. I've been attending church for a while now, but I've been attending regularly in Batesville. And I keep looking at when Jackie made her communion. I sit there and I visualize her and I see her innocent little face, her beautiful smile, how she told us that that was her special day. And I asked myself, what would Jackie want me to do? What would she want us to do? And the sweet little innocent little girl would probably tell me, show love, show compassion, but seek the truth. And I would think that all the little kids and the teachers, my friend Joe, I would think that all of them would want the same thing. They can't sit here, they can't get up here and speak, so we keep pounding on the same thing. The presentation that you covered a minute ago was a good presentation. Commend you for that. But I think that we also need to focus on and I think we need to focus on what happened on May the 24th. Dr. Harrell, you've been answering, a lot of the questions, and we appreciate that. Has your attorney suggested to you not to answer anything, or you're pretty much free to answer anything that we ask of you?
So, I'm sorry, say that again, Jesse.
Yes, sir. Has your attorney recommended you don't answer certain questions, or you're pretty much free to answer anything that we ask of you?
I think most questions I can answer, but if they become in the legal side or the policy side that I can't in open forum, then I won't be able to.
Appreciate that, sir. The city and the county, they've requested an independent investigation. They hired a firm. They're parallel to the DOJ and the Texas Ranger. I'm just curious as to, and maybe I missed it along the way, but I'm just curious to see how come the school hasn't done that, to get someone that's not local, an independent person, so that you don't have this type of situation like Adam alluded to, where you try to discipline, you try to terminate, and it seems like it's a fumble after a fumble. And I understand due process, but you take Mandy, for example, suspend her, and then next thing you know, we reinstate her, and the next thing you know, she's in a different job. It's a loss, in my opinion, it's a loss of credibility. I don't know if you're being reactive to when we come up here and we say, we want this done, and then you go and you pull the trigger, and the next thing you know, the attorneys get involved and they write a nice little letter, and the next thing you know, they're in another position. I don't know if we're just doing that too soon, or, that's why I think that an independent company that comes out of here and they actually research it and they tell you what happened, what transpired, then you can use that. Have you considered that, Dr. Harrell?
I have not, but I'll look into that. That's a strong point.
I think it's worth I think it'd be worth the money. You know, like you said, you know, like Fernandez said, you don't want to do something, then you end up jeopardizing situation, and then they come with attorneys, people that you're trying to terminate or discipline, and you end up in a worse situation.
Thank you.
Dr. Hurl, I understand that around April 15th of 2020, UCISD adopted an active shooter training, and Mr. Miller and yourself, I'm sorry, Mr. Arredondo were instrumental in setting that policy. That was 2 years prior to around 2 years prior to May 24th. I still don't understand how you go and you create this policy, you implement it, you adapt it, and then we get it so wrong. It just fell apart. It looks good on paper, but the people that are supposed to protect and do their job, they just didn't have the heart, I suppose. What's your role, Dr. Harrell, with this active shooter program? I mean, I know that they, like you answered that earlier with Pete. He's the person in command, but again, you're the CEO. Surely you have to be involved in this process.
I am. I'm support through the process, but in that document in the district, there was one incident commander.
Did you, at any time after it gets adopted, did you see him run, I call him run plays, but basically go through the school and know every inch of that school, at every school?
No, I did not.
In my line of work, Dr. Harrell, you know where I work, it's called accountability. My boss and my boss's boss, they got to make sure that I have all the tools that I need, and they make sure that the safety's there. And that's what we're looking for, Dr. Harrell. If you're going to set these things on paper and set them in writing, you got to be able to check up on them. After they go out and they do the training, they go to the college, do the training. Mike Hernandez is one of the instructors, right? How many times did they, after the training, how many times did they come out? And this goes for anyone of y'all, if you know the answer. How many times did they come out and do the runs, the dry runs?
I don't know. I don't know how many runs they had.
As I'm listening to the answers, I sit here and I reflect back on the documentaries I saw last night, and I'm told some things I don't like asking because I don't know if I really want to know the answer. I happened to see it last night. Jackie and I'm sure other little kids, they still had a heartbeat, but we took 77 minutes. Perhaps if we ran the play just like you do football plays, baseball plays every single day, maybe not every single day, maybe every week or something, maybe some of them could have lived. Maybe if they weren't going to live, maybe somebody could have held their hand as they were dying. Just, I find that unacceptable, Dr. Harrell. In reference to Mr. Hernandez, if he teaches, from what I'm told, somebody approached me, somebody who used to be a police officer, he explained what Mr. Hernandez was doing that day. He goes in, Pete's not doing his job. Hernandez obviously can tell he's not doing his job because what is he doing? It's taking forever. And what is Hernandez doing, from what I understand? Crowd control, watching the things happen from outside. He's your second in command. Any particular reason, have you asked him why he just didn't take over when he sees Pete just freeze? I think Pete went into state of shock or something. I don't know. It's the only thing I can think of, but man, you don't sit back. You got to let somebody else run that one. So the question is this: have you asked Mike, why he felt it was so important to sit there and control crowd versus going in there and try to save a life?
My understanding from our conversations, he felt like that's the best position he could have been in to support the rest of the campus and extracting students and staff from coming as they were being removed from the campuses.
It honestly, to me, sir, sounds like an excuse. Why not to go in? I can't tell you what I would have done. Maybe if it was in his shoes, I didn't sign up for the gig. I don't know what I would have done. But it's just unacceptable. You got to know what to call it, sir. The other thing, Dr. Harrell, is that day on May 24th, what did you do that day? Obviously, you got the phone call. You went out there. Were you on the phone with anyone?
Yes, I was. I was actually on the south side of the campus, receiving staff, students, getting them on the bus, calling the city. We need make sure that the Civic Center was open, make contact with the mayor, but I was on the south side of the campus.
So you didn't have any conversations with Pete that day?
No.
As the situation's taking place?
No, I did not.
There's also, as far as Pete, getting hired, there's been a report, I think it was KINS 5 that came out, and they checked his history, his employment history. Who hired him? I mean, you hired him directly, or just explain, if you can tell me who hires him, because it's like you missed, like you didn't check a reference or something.
Yeah, I made the recommendation to the school board to hire Pete Arredondo in 2020.
Did you check did you call his former employer?
Yes.
And he didn't disclose that to you?
No.
His demotion? Thank you, Dr. Harrell. The next thing is for JJ Suarez. JJ, last time we met, we basically called you out. Annabelle, answered the question. You called us we had a long conversation. I'm really disappointed, JJ. I totally understand what you're telling me. Point did you conclude that it was a barricade situation?
So while we were en route, we had the information that there were shots fired around the school, not an active shooter. When I got there, we went in and we were told that they had the person barricaded in a room. There was no active shots.
Did they tell you that there were children in there?
No, sir.
You didn't hear any gunshots when you got there?
No, sir.
It just did. Who told you?
So I will answer your questions if you keep asking them.
JJ, who told you that it was a barricade situation? I mean, and again, JJ, I guess maybe because I saw the documentary last night, I keep thinking of the kids, man. I don't understand it, JJ. How do you out of all people, man, out of all people, SWAT, oh, your resume looks good, JJ, but I cannot figure it out, JJ. Who told you, JJ, that?
I'm about to answer the question.
Answer the question, please.
Thank you, Mr. Russo. So again, when I got in there, I do not know. I cannot give you a 100% answer on who told me. We get in there, we're told the person is barricaded in a room. We're evaluating the situation. There was no shots fired. And you'll see on the video that I said, we need to get a bullhorn. I ran out to go get a bullhorn or try to find a bullhorn and try to get on the intercom system to speak to the person. As we have schools, we know that schools are on rotations. I did not know that there was kids in there. I did not ask that question, and that haunts me, and there's nothing I can do about that. But what I was told was that it was a barricaded person.
Well, I hope at one point or another, JJ, maybe through a video or that the recollection comes back, JJ. Because I'd like to know who told you that.
I'd like to know too.
I can't, the 911 calls that are coming in from kids that are
I was not there, Mr. Russo, when those calls came in. I was in that building after I returned back when we did not have a bullhorn and where I could not get an intercom system. When I returned back into the building, we moved over to the other side, and I noticed that there was families coming over. So I ran out because there was enough officers in there. I went straight to the families and I spoke, and I was there with Angel Garza the whole time, and letting them know. And I've talked to Angel before, and I've told him that I've apologized to him that I'm sorry, I did not know. What was told to me was a barricaded person, and that changes the protocol at that point. And being there with him as we were getting the other kids out, we were escorting them into the funeral home. I was running from the back fence to the school to escort the kids out. At that point, I still did not know that there were shots fired. And like I told you on the phone, I did not find out until almost a week later that that person shot over 100 rounds before we were there. I didn't know that. Yes, ma'am.
So I don't see how you could have not heard the shot because I heard it. Tell the truth. Tell the truth. I can hear it. Shame on you. In my head. How did you not hear them? Ta 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 ta. Ta 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 ta. I'll never forget that sound. How did you not hear them?
I'm telling you, ma'am, went out.
I think it's something, JT, that obviously a lot of us, I've got my regrets, man. It's something to cross, it's something to wait, that weight that we are going to have to carry probably for the rest of our lives, man. And whatever truth you believe, and so be it. But I wish you could just gone in, JJ. Hindsight 2020, which leads me to my last thing. The Astros thing. Again, JJ, you missed the meeting. I get it. You explained why you missed the meeting. Did anyone suggest to you that it was a bad idea to go?
No, sir. I attended that, like I told you on the phone. I attended that on behalf of our community because I am the Little League president, and we were invited by the commissioner to be there and to represent Uvalde. And I used that time to speak to some of the players about assault rifle reform.
Did you invite any of the survivors?
Any of the survivors?
Yes, sir.
No, so we were allowed one other additional Little League player, and they asked it to be somebody from the Astros team, and so that's who we took.
And who would that be, JJ?
That was a Zamora family.
On the, this goes for anybody up there. On the emergency plan, does it clearly state that you're not supposed to use the PA system? Or is that an assumption?
I have not seen that.
That seems to be one of Mandy's, way to keep a job. Just throw something out there like that. I go back to the same thing. It's important that you look into an independent investigation, Dr. Harrell. I'm assuming that, so y'all know that I'm from Batesville. Where my roots are from. I'm assuming that the things that are being talked about, I saw Batesville name up there. I'm assuming that there's a lot of focus on that, the security aspect of it. And we appreciate that coming in from Batesville. The counseling, you are going to get some additional resources for counseling?
That is our goal. We have a plan out there to have additional counselors to support our campuses, all of our campuses.
Okay. And as far as, I saw the company name Armored
One.
Have you looked into other companies or is that the sole one?
We have looked into other companies. They have come to Uvalde in area districts. They are doing work right now in area districts that we are very familiar with.
Thank you. I do want to thank y'all. I'll end it with this. I know that it's important to move forward, but I think it's more important to understand what happened and to get to the truth of it. That's what the kids would want, and that's what the teachers would want. And that's why, as family members, as parents, and community members, we come with these questions. So appreciate y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Russo.
Thank you, Mr. Russo, appreciate it. Next we have Ms. Emma Trimble.
Wow. Hello, everyone. I'm hoping that the individual that came up here to speak, the very first speaker, is watching and listening to this. And I want to speak to not only you, the board members, but the parents as well. I want you all to know that I have presented and I am working on a proposal to provide parents and staff members with a program that teaches awareness and gives parents and staff members tools and skills to help them deal with the issues that led Salvador Ramos to do what he did. It trains parents, teachers, and other leaders not only to identify the signs of depression, isolation, being bullied, or being a bullier, but it also helps them know what to do and follow up with action. And if we get multiple people trained on this program, parents at home, volunteer residents, and staff at school, and we're all speaking the same language, and we've all been enlightened with some of the signs that maybe go ignored. Oftentimes, I think signs are ignored because people don't know what to do about it. There is not a handbook on how to be a good parent, and there certainly is not a handbook that deals with the issues that we're dealing with today. Violence, evil is perpetuating, it's expanding at a very rapid rate, and we all need to be armed with the tools and skills that can combat and decrease some of this. This particular program has been adopted by multiple school districts statewide. Salinas, California currently no longer qualifies for funding for a particular aspect, and that aspect being the murder rate has decreased among children significantly. And so they no longer qualify for that funding because they have adopted this program community-wide. It is a community-wide collaboration effort. And I am looking for volunteers to help with this. I did have a meeting with Mr. Miller, and I have sent him some preliminary information and will be sending him an official proposal. But it doesn't work unless we have some of these concerned citizens involved. It is an effort that is balanced by as many parties as possible being involved. I do want to speak very briefly to the issue of security. I have also spoken with Mr. Miller about some security references of, I guess, what is the word, expertise, that if I strongly implore you to speak with him and ask him about these references. The big concern that I have is the entry points of some of these portable buildings. If they happen to get past the fence, then what? There are some very sophisticated technology. There's some sophisticated technology available that will alert anyone and everyone on this particular platform of an entry at any point in time. It's certainly worth looking into. Now, as I've let everybody know that I am looking for volunteers, you can go to thepeaceministries.com or Emma Trimble on Facebook or Peace Ministries on Facebook as well to contact me. I am also here to speak concerning the fact that Dalton Elementary School leadership has decided to create a Zen garden for the children. I'd like to preface my comment with the fact that I think this is a wonderful idea. I think it's wonderful to create a place of peace, not only for our children, but for our teachers. I believe we need to do everything we possibly can to help in this realm. However, I am concerned, as is Sammy, about the title of Zen. Zen is rooted and very deeply rooted and derived from Buddhism. Bringing Buddhism to the impressionable minds of our children, I believe, will be conflicting to their little hearts. The conflict will come because many of us, and if not most, all children here in Uvalde, they hear about God the Father in heaven and the Lord Jesus Christ of the Bible at home. The children of Uvalde are at a very vulnerable place in time. I believe they need stability, congruency, and absolutes. We must give our children stability of heart and mind. Evil has taken up a huge space in our society, and it's transcended to an astonishing level of influence and outward acts of violence, as we have so experienced here. I am very much, as I said, for a quiet place and a garden for our children. Might we perhaps consider naming this a peace garden, a prayer and peace garden, if you will? We as believers, the body of Christ, and I'm guessing that there are some of you on this board that understand the ramifications and significance of erecting an altar and aligning ourselves and our children with Buddhism. If we give something a title, it means something. Titles and symbols mean something. Evil has taken up a huge space in our society, and we need God, and our children need a clear message. I would also like to ask you, how can I find out what you will decide on this?
I'll be happy to get back to you.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Trimble. Next we have Ms. Rachel Martinez.
Good evening. First, I would like to address the school board regarding the unprofessionalism of this previous school board meeting I attended on July 18th during the open forum to the public. Specifically, Mr. Cal Lambert, you sat here with a smug look on your face that Monday. You were asked a question regarding your opinion on what action should have been taken on May 24th. You refused to answer the question. You didn't answer that question or any questions, or have any input on the concerns the public had. The only time you spoke up was to raise your voice to defend your honor as a combat veteran. And while I thank you for your service, sir, none of that helped save any lives on May 24th. And that is why we are here, to get answers and solutions to what happened on May 24th. None of you sitting up there today, with the exception of the people who were not there that day, had any information to share other than Mr. Fernandez and Dr. Harrell. If you're not here to service the community that elected you to your position, I will ask that you please step down and let someone fill your spot. Secondly, I've been made aware by keeping tabs on the UCISD website that you are requesting the completion of a survey regarding virtual classes for this school year. I just want to verify that virtual classes will be, without question, made available for any student or parent who prefers to go that route, regardless of how many people, parents enroll or wish to enroll.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Kindergarten through grade 12.
perfect. And that will be ready for use on September 6th.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. So now I want to address the resource officers. Who gives the final approval on the hiring of resource officers?
That's done within the central office through the HR department and through senior staff primarily.
So do any of you have any say on that?
You're talking about the school board?
Yes.
We just get the recommendation provided, and of course, we will ask questions as far as who it is, why they selected, who was selected, and make a informed decision based on what we've been provided at that
And do
time.
you have any input on the vetting process for these officers?
Yes, ma'am, I did speak to Dr. Harrell about the specifics, things that we do would be of concern of the community as well as the town hall meetings that we had. We took those into consideration as well.
Okay. So will you be bringing current Uvalde Police Department and Uvalde SWAT onto the UCISD police force?
We have listened to the community and we've heard that, and we are not doing that at this time. If it's something that emerges later that time enables us to do, then we'll relook at it. But right now, we are not.
You're keeping them away from the school grounds?
For new employees, yes.
Okay. That was just, I was just going to comment that I would hope that you would not make these children go to school and have to face the same officers that abandoned them when they needed them the most. Lastly, I would like to address the unprofessionalism within the school district officers. There have been two separate situations that occurred during the school year with two of my daughters, and I would like these issues to be taken seriously. Due to being of sensitive nature, we didn't come to the decision to speak out lightly. The first incident was when my then 9th grader was pulled out of class twice in one day to be questioned by 3 UCISD male officers. Among those were Chief Arredondo. The conversation they attempted to carry on with her was unprofessional, and it had nothing to do with any investigation regarding a school threat. So this made my daughter feel very uncomfortable and unsure of why she was even there. After not asking for any information on the investigation, they let her go back to class. They then proceeded to call her out for a second time out of the same class period, pulling her away from her lesson and her schoolwork, and continued to try to joke around with her and carry on a conversation. Then finally, after several minutes of her feeling uncomfortable, they simply asked for contact information for another female student. All while and under the presence and supervision of Chief Officer Arredondo. Chief Arredondo allowed us some professional interaction, and even worse, he allowed them to waste time and instead of treating this possible school threat as a serious matter. We can now look back and realize how dangerous their choices were and how complacent these officers became, instead of the professionals they were meant to be and staying vigilant. And another situation was where CISD coach Wade Miller reversed into my daughter's car into the school parking lot, and Chief Arredondo walked onto the scene. He was very unprofessional. He even allowed Coach Miller to leave the scene of the accident and held my daughter there. And to me, that shows that the UCISD officers and their chief do not respect our students, their safety, or their well-being. So these incidents happened twice within one school year with two of my children. It does not seem likely that this is a rare occurrence. And I implore you to do a little digging on your resource officers. And I have the forms here required to file a grievance on them, and I would like to turn that in to you today.
Yes, sir.
So I have one of my daughters here today. I hope you're ready and willing to take this information seriously and do an investigation. Handle it appropriately. Do not just sweep this under the rug and get your officer's version of the story and leave my children to carry the burden of speaking the truth. My daughter thought long and hard about bringing this up, and she hopes it shows the lack of preparedness and emergency response. I also wanted to bring up something. I know that it was brought up twice about the garden, the Zen garden. Mm-hmm. I would just like to remind y'all that the United States is a nation of religious freedom. Not all community members are of Christian belief, and that they need to be taken into consideration as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Martinez. Appreciate it. Next, we have Ms. Hannah Hernandez.
I think your daughter's going to
Oh, your daughter's going to speak first? That's Hannah Hernandez? Okay, just making sure I got the right person. Thank you. Oh, okay.
Hi, my name is Hannah. I will be a 10th grader this upcoming school year. As my mom stated, there was an incident that happened last school year where I felt uncomfortable with the level of professionalism with the school resource officers. I hope this complaint gives you some insight of what we dealt with day in and day out. From that incident, I learned that the lack of professionalism that day continued to follow the officers, and they did not fulfill their duties on May 24th. What were these resource officers employed to do?
To provide safety for our students and our staff.
I ask you this because I have seen firsthand that these officers were not present or available when something as simple as breaking up a fight between two students. There were teachers on the floor struggling to break apart the students on their own. The officers can be seen day after day in groups talking. How in any way is this what they are getting paid for? I elected to be in criminal justice with a long-term dream of becoming a police officer, inspired by my dad, a corrections officer. In this class, I had an interaction with several UPD officers on May 20th, just 4 days before the tragedy occurred. In this class, I had some of the officers included Eddie Canales, Daniel Coronado, and Javier Martinez. In this presentation, they spoke to us about the dangers and risk of being a police officer. How you put your life on the line at any given moment and to not think it can't happen to you. Don't get comfortable, they told us. And only 4 days later, they didn't put into action what they had preached. You cannot bring people like this into our school district to protect our students and staff. What I am asking of you today is to not hire just to fill vacancies and to take our safety and lives into consideration.
Thank you so much, Hannah. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Hannah.
Next, we have Mr. Daniel Myers.
Dr. Harrell, staff, the board over here. As you can tell, May 24th is very much engraved in our hearts, very vivid in our minds. It's not going to be swept under the rug. With all due respect, Dr. Harold, all the words that you uttered earlier were just like words, like water on the duck's back. We want results of what's going to happen. As of right now, has anybody lost their job? Has anybody been terminated? If anything, we see that they're getting reinstated. Administrative leave, thank God they're not getting paid. But what has happened? I mean, what has happened from May 24th up to right now? Has anybody lost their job?
Just a recommendation for the termination of the chief.
I noticed that you're seeking for a new chief. I read an article a few days ago about Arredondo from Webb County, Laredo.
Correct.
Are you familiar with what happened over there?
I am not.
Well, the person that was interviewed was an educator there in Webb County, and his quote was, Arredondo, he didn't use the word lie, he said he exaggerated. He was fired 2014, he was demoted, and then he was brought here under your watch, Dr. Harold. So the person that you're going to be interviewing, whoever's involved for the new chief, I hope you scrutinize this person to the max. Because the last one we had, he dropped the ball. He just did not take care of our children. Please, May 24th is not going to get swept under the rug.
Yes, sir.
Those of you that are here, I don't know if you've been here for the last meetings, it's very much alive, very much a part of our life. I got grandchildren in Phoenix, Arizona. My wife and I, we wanted to bring them over here to go to school here. Small town. But once they heard what happened, they said, no way, Nana. No way, Nana. We don't want to go over there. And like I had mentioned, we had a gathering there at our church, 3035 East Main, for families of children that were not in there directly, but on the other side of the school, that were really affected up to this day. So I hope all of you take this very serious. 19 families shattered, 19 children snatched, 2 of your peers gone. And why do we bring it up? Because we want answers. That's what we want is answers. People to lose their job that didn't do their job. This gentleman right here, he didn't know, a week later, did the call go out, active shooter at Robb Elementary? I mean, my wife and I were at HEB, and that's what we heard. At HEB, you were there. I don't understand why you didn't hear that. So please, we need prayer in Uvalde. We need healing in Uvalde. We don't need it yesterday. We need it right now. We don't need it tomorrow. We need it right now. We need it right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Myers.
Thank you, Mr. Myers. Appreciate it. Next is Diana Carra.
Good evening, school board members, Dr. Harrell, UISD staff, parents, visitors, media. Here we are once again, another school board meeting, another day that has passed since May 24th. And though we appreciate the efforts the district is making regarding the safety and security of the district as our children prepare to come back, as our staff prepare to come back, but we still need answers, as some of the speakers have said, regarding May 24th, when Uvalde lost 19 children, 2 teachers, tragically, horribly, because of the inaction of the law enforcement community of Uvalde. The primary law enforcement agency that day, as per your active shooter plan, was your own police department. I know some of the speakers have referred to the officers as resource officers. They're police officers, duly allowed by the state of Texas to carry a gun and wear a badge, who told students in their class at a training that they needed to be prepared to lose their life any given moment on any given day. Yet those same officers, some of those same officers, refused to take that truth to heart and did nothing on May 24th to protect the children and the teachers of this community. That is completely unacceptable. That is why we keep coming back, meeting after meeting after meeting, and we keep asking the same question because we have yet, almost 3 months later, to hear any answers or to see any accountability from anybody at any level, from law enforcement officers to campus staff to central office and beyond. And we just don't understand why. I mean, how can we lose 19 children and 2 teachers tragically, just horribly, and not have anybody yet be accountable? Now, we keep hearing that we're waiting on the completion of a criminal investigation. That's all good and well. We pray, many of us pray, that one day there will be a criminal charge brought against individuals involved in that incident on May 24th. But before that day comes, which may be years away, and based on the way the investigation is going and how everybody seems to be dragging their feet, each entity, from the school district to the city to the county, has the ability to take some action without that investigation. We keep asking you, Dr. Harrell, the school board, and I understand the school board doesn't hire and fire. You make recommendations, you hear recommendations from Dr. Harrell and his administrative staff about these individuals. But as I had asked the city of Uvalde, can you not at a minimum, out of respect for the families, out of respect for the children that died, the teachers that died, take those officers and put them on desk duty? Do something to show us that you understand the pain, that you understand that healing everybody keeps talking about, at least the ones that aren't showing up to these meetings, that healing can actually begin. The parents have received nothing that gives them any hope that something like justice will one day happen, because it's like business as usual. You drive around town or you drive by a school district, there's Officer Hernandez, there's Officer, I don't know all their names, but you have 4 officers, some of them are here tonight, and we continue to see them on duty, getting paid, as if nothing happened on May 24th. The same is true for the city of Uvalde, the same is true for the county, and where is their accountability and justice? There isn't. We cannot go back to business as usual. We can't raise a flag at Cecil Atkinson that says Uvalde strong and think it's okay. It isn't. It isn't okay. There are hurting people, we have dead children, and no accountability. You hired Peter Redondo, and for whatever reason, if references were checked, he didn't know that his last employer obviously didn't have very many good things to say about him. That gentleman should never have been hired. Never. The 4 officers of this district that are still employed with you need some discipline and reprimand. They need it. You need to do that. And the new hires, it's not very reassuring to us to know that the people involved in hiring those individuals are the very people, some of the very people that failed our children and teachers, this community, on May 24th. How can we trust the opinion of Mike Hernandez, who is currently your appointed interim chief? That's an insult. That is an insult. Dr. Harrell talked about that trust has been broken and that it is going to take all of us, not one of us, to regain that trust. Some of the ways that you can do that so that the rest of us might be more inclined to join you is if we see you take some action that you are able to take in the interim of a criminal investigation being completed and reprimanding, disciplining in some form or fashion the officers that are still on staff. That isn't too much to ask. Lastly, only because it was brought up by Ms. Emma Trimble and Ms. Sammy Smallwood about the garden. I too disagree with it being a Zen garden. Out of respect for Mrs. Martinez, who also reminds us that we live in a country where there is freedom of religion, why name it anything at all? Name it something that would be acceptable to most. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Crowe. Next we have Ms. Tina Taylor.
So that presentation, good afternoon, Tina Taylor. So that presentation that you showed us, it looks like a presentation that you might have shown your staff. Is that accurate?
It'll be shared with staff, yes.
Yes, because that wasn't certainly created just to share for us. I mean, that's something that I can see from an outsider, an audience. So whenever you deliver something like that, it would be good for you to say, this is something that we showed our staff, and we're sharing with you, our community. Because by you coming up here and presenting that information, it misleads these families to think that you prepared this information for them. You prepared this information for the school district and for the surrounding community. Now, I came up here for a change in pace, and that presentation just kind of set me off. And then I heard this gentleman speaking, and I recognized his son, Adam, because he was in special ed with my son, Winston. And then I realized that there was another family here that was representing a special needs child. And I thought, wow, we have 3 kids. Hello? Hello? Okay.
We can hear you.
We have 3 kids in this audience in this short amount of time that have special needs, which is why she wanted to come talk, because she's worried about her brother. I have no idea what she's going to say, but I'm going to let her free rein it.
My brother's autistic, and I would be scared if that was his school and he could have died. You guys need to do something to that school because he's going to go to school. I'm in K-12, but he needs to be protected. And if he's not protected, then I don't know. But he needs to be protected.
So if virtual learning is just a, an opinion right now, I don't think I feel safe sending my child to school, because he also has sensory processing disorder, global development delay, and he is very afraid of alarms. He will cover his ears. He will hide underneath desks. You cannot find him. He will be quiet. I'm scared about this as a parent in this community and as somebody who I had a hard time trying to explain to her why her brother was different or why he was special. And she would say, "But I'm special too, Mommy." And I would say, "You are special. Just like all of these 19 children that were lost, they were special to us too." So yes, I am very, very scared. I am very scared because he does need to be in the classroom. He doesn't have an option. And then another thing I'd like to address is a Zen garden. Let me guess, you got this recommendation from Mandy Pruitt? Zen garden? Yeah, I know. We revisited, what, Mandy, like 4 years ago, 3 years ago? Zen garden? I remember that. Yeah. So I spoke to Mandy and her level of professionalism online, and I tagged CISD page, and Yvette took it down to protect y'all. But leadership does not begin by telling people that we need to work together when accountability and justice has not been prevailed. Families here cannot move on, will not move on. Yes, they are getting tired. In the beginning, they were emotionally tired and exhausted. They couldn't be here. We carried the cross for them. They fought a little bit. Guess what? They're tired again. Guess what? We're going to carry the cross for them again. We ain't putting down that cross until justice is prevailed. Bottom line, the fence at Dalton is not safe for our families. It's not safe for our families. It's not being ugly or rude, as you stated. It's not. It's not being ugly or rude. It's telling the truth. And just because you have friends that are vice superintendents does not give you the reason to talk to parents the way you talk to them or treat them the way you do. It's not ethical. Yes, I am angry and I have said things up here, and I will continue to sit here and defend these kids. Now, something that I wrote, and I want to share this with you, and then I have also provided you a document, Uvalde Strong for Gun Safety. The document is to help us slow down the trend of mass shootings. It's not going to stop them. This is something in Uvalde County as leaders that we can do to show the rest of the world, hey, Uvalde County is making the change to stop the sale of ammunition and gunfire. I think that this is something that you should really consider as leaders in your positions. JJ had training. He knows what it's like to hold one of those guns. It's very powerful. Somebody who is trained should only have access to those guns, not to the general public. So I ask that you please read that and sign that, and I will pick them up at central office tomorrow. And then we'll see in the newspaper who supports our children and who doesn't. I leave you with this. This is something that I wrote because I had several critics say I was out of character. So maybe this will be something for those that usually see and hear from me. Leadership, a controversial definition as so many people hold this position yet practice it so differently. Organizational settings and ethical leadership are the center point of our futures. Contamination risks are high as false narratives and hidden agendas run through the bureaucratic system. Personal offense is taken when criticized, as failures are hard to admit and transparency often goes unrecognized to prevent chaos. Secretly preventing chaos is further adding to the failures in our society. Recognizing that leadership is a revolving door of learning opportunities intimidate individuals to expand their level of comprehension. Social intake is equally important, as views and rationale are often encouraged yet suppressed, if not ruled in one's favor. Thus, transparency becomes the root essential of creating positive change and contagious influence. Resistance becomes a primary integrated concern, as some individuals are resilient to alterations. That's where we're at now. Stagnation can further damage the roots, allowing for the expiration of abundant supply. That's happening. Ultimately, resulting in the pieces of the root terminating and causing instability and lack in future growth. That's happening. We ultimately stopped our own children from growing. Ultimately. How do I reinsure that this is okay? My child enrolled into K-12. K-12 loves it. It's sad that I have to take her childhood away from her. It is relevant that failures continuously occur and the suggested qualities are interrupted. 5 qualities are necessary in the success of leadership: modesty, authenticity, truthfulness, trustworthiness, and concern for well-being is leadership. Along with these admirable traits comes consequence of authenticity, because so few leaders exemplify them and human behavior does opposite. Application of what was once acquired becomes insufficient knowledge, and there is a desire for transition into a successful setting. That's us. We want to transition into a successful setting. How? How can we transition into a successful setting with an F rating and the deadliest mass shooting in America? Understanding social pollution is that it becomes expected and accepted if you support the rejection and differential development. Because leadership begins with not knowing all of its entirety, but rather the discovery of new intake. Acknowledgement of such facilitators is imperative because perception becomes reality. As outlined, persistency of reinforcement of opposite counterparts are equally important. Rejection to transformation becomes a root cause of destruction. Slowly demolishing our system and conforming them to an eased state of guidance. In comparison to the workplace, no matter what profession, the results are equally comparable and important. The answer is parallel, and simply concluded that there is lack in support. And we all know that that is necessary to build core relationships, and it's relevant food for our plant system, which is our teachers and our staff, for our children. So the big question is not only protecting our students, but also protecting our teachers and staff. When they raise questions to your administrators, and your administrators mock them or roll their eyes at them or don't listen to them in their entirety, that's not acceptable. It's not acceptable. There needs to be a different guideline, outline, something where teachers can come express their concerns. I know that you have this alert system, correct, where they can report to you if something, and it's supposed to be in confidence, correct?
Correct.
Right. That doesn't work. I know all the chisme. That doesn't work. It's not in confidence. Do better. I will be at every one of these meetings saying the same thing. Do better. listen, determining this route of thriving survival is purely flourished in balancing these outlooks and personal development. So look within before you look out. And that's all I have to say. Maylee, do you have anything else to say? No? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next up, we have Steven Sanchez.
Mr. Harrell, School Board, thanks for the opportunity. I have a quick question. It's really, just curious, you know, the officers that were employed that day that are still employed, did they at least get, pardon my French, a coming to Jesus talk at least? Or is it just, they just went on as usual?
We've had some personnel conversations.
All right, that's just something that came to me as listening to everybody, and you know, it just doesn't seem like, I know they're not fired, but I wonder if they at least, somebody at least chewed them out. So a few questions. As far as security goes, do you guys, and you may already do this, do you do audits of your security?
That is one of the pieces I want the interim chief to come in and do, is to audit our department, the people within the department, and our processes and protocols. Yes, sir.
And will they be quarterly audits? Do you have any idea on?
I do not. I'll go on the recommendation of the chief and what they propose. I am looking for someone that is skilled in that area, somebody that has done audits before for other divisions, departments.
Yes, because it seems like a lot of the things that you had put in place, nobody was actually making sure those things were being done. There's no documentation, and I think audits would have given you some documentation and a way to hold people accountable for the things they said they were doing and they weren't doing. Also, with the chief and the police department, I know there's a chain of command, right?
Correct.
And so, with all due respect, you are over the chief, correct?
Correct.
Now, what about somebody that's a consultant, somebody that the chief has to answer to, because somebody with security experience that knows when he's BSing them, that knows to hold him accountable, and he reports to you, as opposed to, I don't know if you have a security background or not.
No, I do not.
But it just seems like with all the things that you have to take care of to be over security, it's a lot for somebody to do. And I think somebody with a security background to oversee these people and make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing might be helpful. Also, the cameras that we're putting all over the place. Now, are we going to have somebody to monitor those cameras, or are they just out there self-recording and nobody's looking at them?
They'll be monitored.
24/7, or?
I don't know about 24/7. They'll be monitored throughout the school day and the function of the day.
And I, as far as security goes, do all the campuses have security?
They will.
No, just not police officers, just security. Aside from the police officers.
No.
Because
no, we did not in the past. We will in the future.
It seems to me that we're misallocating our resources. You should, in my opinion, have the police keep these people out, and the security guards work on what's in here, the fights, and all that other stuff that security guards are supposed to handle. They don't have a firearm. And the police officers should be out there in the parking lots around the schools patrolling, making sure these fools don't get into the school to begin with. All these security systems that you guys have in place and are putting into place, they're all well and good, but you can have the best security system in the world. If you don't have the people that know what they're doing, it's not going to matter. And just in my opinion, I think we have to account for human failure, because the system itself is not going to be enough. It's the people that you put behind these things that you're trying to implement. That's what's going to make or break us. And I just, as I sit here and looking out, if you go around town and you see the Uvalde Strong things everywhere, and if you look in this auditorium, it's just about empty. And these families, they need our support. We all have children. We all live in this community, and if we're really Uvalde Strong, this goes out to the people watching, people not here. You guys should be filling these seats, supporting your family and supporting these people. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sanchez. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. And last, we have Ms. Caitlin Gonzalez.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Caitlin Gonzalez, and I will be a fourth grader attending Flores Elementary. I'm going to be talking about the things that I think should be a change to make our school safer. Connecting doors, that's the problem. That's the problem. When the gunman entered the class, he got into Mr. Reyes' class through the connecting door. It could have saved so many more lives if that connecting door was not there. Second of all, better lighting. When I went to Flores to give a tour of the Flores, the lighting's, there's not that much lights in the hallway, and that needs to be fixed. Because that day on May 24th, in the classroom, it was dark. Like the same amount of darkness it was at Flores hallway, and that triggered me a lot. Third, automatic door locks. That's how he got in. Door wasn't locked properly. Fourth, ballistic film glass. That could save a lot of lives. It can contact the law enforcement, and it could save people from getting shot with bullets. And that's all I have. Thank you for your guys' time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Caitlin. Appreciate you. Okay, that is everybody we have. So now moving on to item number 4, adjournment. I entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make the motion to adjourn this meeting, Mr. President.
I'll second.
Got a motion by Mr. Javier Flores, second by Ms. Laura Perez. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we are adjourned. Thank you so much for coming out.
Well, there you have it. Is it Bex? Okay, so Flores is really outdated. I mean, it is very sad that it has come to the point where these babies have to plead for them to keep them safe. But I think we also heard from these kids of some things that I didn't even think about, such as, okay, there needs to be a plan in place for students who are special needs. Like the one girl that talked about her brother. Go to somebody, if they have sensory issues. So I believe if there's going to be a security team, then somebody needs to be on that team coming up with things of, okay, how are we going to address it in this situation? Or at the other schools, like Bex is saying, Flores is very outdated. Okay, so there's dark hallways. So this little girl is saying, look, these dark hallways are scaring me. It's triggering me. Okay, so those are small things that should be walked through before they start school to say, how can we make this the most secure, safe, and comfortable place that's possible for these kids to go back to? The fact that an audit hasn't even happened yet is astounds me. The school district receives grants and whatnot, but they fail. So that is what I'm confused about, Bex. I'm glad you brought that up. I'm very confused about that because when they were talking about the donations that were given directly to the school to go towards the school, I did notice they said they put part of it towards new police equipment. Okay, fine. Is that new police equipment that is being used specifically for the school? Because I would not know why they would need funds for police equipment when wasn't it like $4 million was just spent on tactical gear and whatnot within the Uvalde PD for their SWAT team? I think that every member in Uvalde is, hey, Melissa Jade, do some sort of public accountability to know where that money's going. I do know that many, there's been tons of money donated. Somebody put in here the amount of money to Uvalde School to be given to the victims' families, and I don't mean just the actual victims that are deceased, but the ones that have surviving children. And to this date, I don't think that the money has actually been given to those families. Last I knew, there was some sort of something holding it up. But, I mean, you cannot blame. Yeah, Savannah, I mean, that's what I heard. And I'm going to go back and listen because maybe I heard it wrong, but I'm trying to figure out what in the world police equipment would need to be bought when they spent so much on that gear to begin with. And if the police equipment being used should be used for police officers protecting the school, in my opinion. I keep seeing on the news, right? I keep seeing all of these school districts surrounding Uvalde doing safety drills, run-throughs, upping security, all of that. But I'm not seeing them do that. And this is not, I'm talking about the actual school board. And so I'm confused of why you're asking these people to come back to school September 6th. No wonder people want to go virtual. I probably would as well. See, that's the thing, Bex. I don't understand this. I don't understand that. I understand there's probably some legal loopholes, but if I remember, it was a lot of money just sitting there to be divvied up. Oh my gosh. The community had to sell plates to help the parents. No. Yeah, we're going to do some sort of fundraisers because this is ridiculous. Right, Savannah. If you're going to say that money of that magnitude has gone to police equipment, you should have to say in what manner. If it's for more resource officers, absolutely. Like I know our school provided a detailed report on what security was going in, what it cost, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, isn't that crazy, Caddy, Texas? I cannot believe that. I want my money back. I donated because I donated it to the school, and it wasn't a lot, but I'm just saying I donated to the school based on the fact that I was under the assumption it was going to the families. Because you have to remember the dynamics of what we've been told as well, and what we've seen is that a lot of these, and what Luella said, you know, you've got single moms working 2 jobs. They cannot take time off. And so how do they school? I don't know. I think if anybody deserves money right now, it should be that community. Right, Annie? Yes, Bex, please, if you need anything, let us know. Send me an email. I'm going to try to come up with something within our community to do it because I don't understand I know I'm not the only one that's probably feeling like, what do you mean this community hasn't gotten the money yet? Like, what do you mean? But yet they sure didn't hesitate to spend the money that was given to them. It's nuts. It's nuts. And I know not all of them are like this. I know some of them are brokenhearted and stuff, but come on. It seems very much like this has been building for years, as far as they've constantly just wanted to be listened to and they've never been heard. And it's taken a tragedy. Oh my gosh, Bex, that is insane. Apply to get that. Wow. That was my fear when that school when it, yeah, wow. Because from what I was understanding is that you had to, it was going to go to victims who were injured in any way, that were getting therapy and all that kind of stuff. Not just victims who lost children, but also the ones who were home injured. I mean, Mr. Reyes, all the anybody with a kid that. Wow, that is. I can tell you, I don't know about all you, but about everybody here. But with inflation, oh my goodness, stupid bots, punk at you got them. With inflation, good luck waiting till November. Like, come on. Stupid bot. I know, really? Like, come on. I don't even know how YouTube does that, but I think next time I'll just put it on subs only. That might avoid it. But anyways, y'all, well, I'm going to hop off here. Thanks everybody for coming in, and we'll keep talking. Rob T is going to come on, I think, Wednesday night. So we're going to talk to him, get his story, about Ileana, as well as kind of what he's doing on his podcast, and about what we're gonna kind of do together, and just keep this story going, because so far I don't see anything but these people getting screwed around over and over again. So I'll talk